Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Salaam alaikum and welcome back to another edition of Muslims Uncensored with me, Robert Carter, the mighty Muslim, of course. After returning from the States, I am back here speaking to you. But not only that, but we have a full house here. Roshan Salih, of course, is here as he always is. But I'm very pleased to announce that Dilly Hussain has also joined us after returning all the way from Bangladesh. Dilly, salam alaikum, welcome to the show. Roshan,
Assalamualaikum.
salam. I know
Walaikum
you
salam.
haven't been anywhere, so you
No,
haven't got
I've
nothing
been
to
in
say at
my
all.
bedroom.
Yeah, so reporting from the
Yeah,
sofa as usual.
yeah,
Dilly, you've got more things to say, I think.
yeah.
So welcome to the show. It's great
That's
to
my
have you on. It's
pleasure.
been quite a few weeks since
Yeah,
we've had you, and there's a lot to discuss. Uh, if you don't mind, since this is my show and
go
I'm
for it.
hosting this,
Yeah.
I'm going to start off
You
by
always like
talking about
reminding me,
where
right?
I've
Yeah, go
been,
on.
because that's what everyone wants to know, I'm sure. So I've returned from the United States. I'm sure many of you would have seen my coverage whilst I'm there, and we now know that Donald Trump has won. He's led the Republicans back to the White House, and he won very convincingly. Basically, it's a full house. He's not only won the White House, but he's also won Congress and the Senate as well. So yeah, but I mean, I predicted that. That was a prediction on me, so I got that absolutely right
Mm.
again. Just as I predicted Brexit, I predicted Trump's win
You've
before.
got a crystal ball, haven't
So
you?
yeah, absolutely.
Your
So I got
predictions
that
must be
spot
good.
on. I
Yeah,
got
that's
that
spot
spot on. I'm happy to say.
on. Okay.
You also
I did think Trump was, but
you
there was
thought
a lot
Trump
of
was
doubt
going
in
to
my
win.
mind as
Yeah,
well.
you thought Trump was going to win. Then you sort of backpedaled
I
because
thought they
you weren't
might rig
sure.
it. I thought if it was really close, they'll rig it because obviously he's the
Yeah.
anti-establishment candidate.
Yes, absolutely. I'm not sure. Did you?
Landslide.
You? I think you did predict Trump.
Yeah,
I
yeah. I
won,
thought
didn't
Trump
you?
was
Yeah.
winning landslide.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
as always, Five Pillars gets things right. We know what's
Yeah,
going
yeah.
on in the world. So yeah, now the question is, what's going to happen? How's his presidency going to be? He's already led before after his win in 2016,
Hmm.
so we know what that looks like. But now a lot of people are speculating that this is going to be something completely crazy. I mean, he's got total supreme power now, like he didn't have before. He won the popular vote, and it looks like he's recruiting a team of Zionists, basically. So rather than making America great again, it looks like he's making Israel even
Bigger again.
bigger
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
You
It
can't say
seems.
great again. It never was great, was it?
No, no, not at all. I mean, that's the wrong word to use.
Yeah.
But yeah, more genocidal again,
Yeah.
more land theft again.
Israel first, basically. Not
Israel
America
first.
Israel
Israel
first.
first,
Yeah.
America last. That's what it seems to me.
Because if you look at the appointments, like he appointed Elise Stefanik, right, as an ambassador to the UN. If you heard some of her speeches, you'd have thought that she was the ambassador of Israel.
Mm.
Mike Huckabee, who said some years ago that there's no such thing as West Bank. It's Judea and Samaria. There is no such thing as occupation. There's no such thing as settlements. It's just communities, towns, and cities. So we're going to see perhaps the most Zionist, pro-Israel, neocon cabinet of Trump's, and that shouldn't come as a surprise. This was the president who was the first to recognize Jerusalem as the capital city
Mm.
of Israel. He was the first one to basically um, support the idea of annexation of West Bank. So we shouldn't see any surprises from Trump, and actually see more ramping up of Israeli aggression amongst our Palestinian brothers and sisters.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the interesting phenomena that I noticed while I was there is that obviously the Gaza issue was being pushed. So that's why we were there to witness the Muslim
Mm.
vote. The Gaza issue, of course, was very important for that. But actually, nationwide, I think a lot of Americans didn't actually care about the genocide at all.
No.
They voted for Trump for a number of other reasons. One of them was that Kamala Harris was basically very unlikable. She came across fake, disingenuous. But also Trump was pushing issues like, anti-abortion issues. He was being promoted as the anti-war candidate, believe it or not, and that he was really good with the economy. Therefore, he can make America great again and all that type of stuff. But I would have to say that the Gaza issue, although it's very important for us, for Americans overall, it wasn't. But I think that's more damning on the Democrats, isn't it? The fact that everyone hated them for whatever reason, but America is still this immoral power on the world stage. So
Do you think there would have been a constituency of Democrat voters for whom Gaza was a deciding factor?
well, there were still some Muslims who voted for Harris. There was the Mehdi Hassan types
Yeah, yeah, Wahhabis.
who advocated that although she was bad and
Mm.
the Democrats were responsible for genocide, this and that, it was still better than Trump. You know,
Yeah.
it's the lesser of two evils argument that was being
Yeah.
used. And some Muslims did still vote. I think where I was based in Dearborn, the Democrats still managed about 15% of the Muslim vote there, something like that. So, there were those people still backing them loyally. And I think, but one of the things that so many Muslim voters were annoyed about is that when they went to Democrat rallies, they were booed and hissed at by her supporters. She famously even tried to shut up some anti-genocide protesters in her crowd, saying, "Be quiet, I'm speaking now. If you want to get Trump elected, go to one of his rallies." And that reflected really badly. But yeah, the Muslim vote, I think they sent the right message.
I was delighted that the Democrats lost and Kamala Harris lost, because you just can't reward a genocide, can you? Simple as that. That's the red line. And I understand Mehdi Hassan's argument. He got a lot of brickbats for it, rightly so. But there's a little bit of truth in what he said, in the sense that Trump actually could be worse than the Democrats. I mean, they have been the perpetrators of a genocide, but Trump literally, his next move looks like he's going to deliver the West Bank to Israel, and perhaps even worse. So it was a choice between, shaitans, basically. But I am glad that American Muslims, if I had to choose myself between the two, I just couldn't vote Democrat, because you cannot reward a genocide, as simple as that. On the Muslim vote things, I think we were obviously bigging them up a little bit as kingmakers. In the end, I don't think they were, because the election wasn't close enough. And I think other communities, Latin Americans and white men and black, they're the ones that decide the elections. But I think overall, the statistics haven't come out, but I think we will see that American Muslims, by and large, did the right thing. The Democrat vote collapsed. They voted for third parties, or they didn't vote at all. Perhaps a little bit too many voted for Trump, with some very naive people, especially the Yemeni, your brethren, the Yemeni Americans.
The MMA community who think that he's going to bring peace to the Middle East.
I mean, look, the fact is that he's not an anti-war president. And
absolutely not.
If circumstances had arisen during his first term in power, he would have gone to war.
100%.
Are you saying that on October the 7th last year, he wouldn't have supported Israel? Of course he would have. And now he's going to give Israel a free reign. But at the same time, you just cannot reward a genocide. As simple as that.
Yeah, absolutely. There was, interestingly, quite a bit of Muslim endorsement, especially where I was as well. There was a trend of Muslim Arab Americans backing Trump. I think the argument that they made in their mind was that the Greens are an option, but they're a bunch of losers, which we saw play out, by the way. They got a really poor, disappointing result, even though they were the best on the genocide thing. And I think that a lot of Muslims argued, well, if Trump's going to win, we need some kind of Muslim lobby activity within Republican ranks, kind of thing. There is actually
tokenism. That's tokenism.
That's a straight up.
It could be, yes, absolutely. But I'll play out a clip now of the Muslim mayor behind the endorsement. He was celebrating on the night. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, I see this, and I want to just thank you. Come here, say a couple.
There's gonna be people cursing in the audience.
Good morning. It's another day. I spoke earlier before you came, and I told the crowd that tomorrow, or today actually, is going to be a historic day, and we shall celebrate a historic victory today.
Is he Yemeni?
He's of Yemeni ancestry. He's the mayor of Hamtramck.
So yeah, anti-Houthi Yemeni.
I was just going to say that.
I heard that there was this agenda by Yemeni Americans who were anti-Houthi to get Trump elected.
Yeah, he's not. I mean, he's not from Sana'a, for example,
right.
So it's quite unlikely that he is.
Zaidi Sunni?
No, nothing like that. Okay. No, I think these are Sunni guys.
He's from the south.
I think he's from Ib, which is like central, still considered part of the north. But yeah, these they're Sunni Yemenis by and large, and I think what I was told is that there's this belief among many Yemenis that because Obama was bombing Yemen, and obviously the Democrats are a pro-war party, that, believe it or not, Trump, again, this anti-war candidate,
where do they get this
would
from?
probably not bomb Yemen, possibly, or he might undesignate the Houthi group as a terrorist organization, because that's a move that the Democrats were pushing, which means that it's easier to get to Yemen, for example. So there was a bit of selfish, localized thinking. Narrow. But again, it's like, for us, it's really hard to believe that. But locally, it was a completely different way of thinking.
Right. But the Biden administration did offer that, right? They basically told the Houthis that if you stop attacking the ships, we'll basically
they did. Yeah, they basically said if you stop linking it to the genocide in Gaza and attacking shipping and getting involved in Gaza, then yeah, absolutely, we'll give you some perks. And they said no. So yeah, Yemen has been offered these things, but
Trump being anti-war, Roshan, where do you think that's come from?
I think it's because during his first term in power, there weren't any major wars. And obviously he tried to make friends with Putin. And I think that's what's one of the things that will happen is that the war in Ukraine will end.
Yeah.
So I think that it's just the fact that there weren't any major wars during his first year in power. And obviously he's a guy who puts America first. He's not really interested. He's a business guy, right? He doesn't want to drain American resources and treasure and blood in overseas wars. He just
Anti-war, is that, would it be accurate to
He's not anti-war at all.
It can't be
this is where it comes from. North Korea negotiating with them, speaking to them, de-escalating and visiting. His comments on Ukraine, saying, I'm definitely going to end it. We never should have started that war. Again, that's where it's come from. And then obviously, yeah, like Roshan said, this idea that he never started any major wars while he was in office. That's where it comes from. But obviously, you know, I think we're smarter to realize that, yeah, in a different scenario, he would definitely. I mean, he advocates for bombing every country he doesn't like, doesn't he? He says, we're going to bomb you, we're going to bomb you.
Said we could totally destroy North Korea.
Yeah, exactly.
Robert,
Rocket Man.
forget about Trump. What I really want to know is your trip. What did you make of America? What did you make of the good old USA, the good old great Satan?
I think I got yeah.
Land of the free.
It was described as such by one of the people I interviewed, by the way, as well, an American Arab.
Great Satan.
They said they're in the belly of the beast.
In
the belly of the beast. Basically, I got a very distorted view because I went to an area that's full of Arabs and Muslims, and I just hung out with a bunch of Muslims, basically. So I can't say that I really know what it's like, but you know, I think it's definitely a society which is plagued with corruption, money and politics. The fact that the country didn't care about genocide abroad. I mean, this is a country which, you know, its sole focus is on how can we make our life better. That's the attitude I get from America. Is, you know, even the criticism of Israel in right-wing circles that exists right now, it's about Israel's dragging us into a bad economic situation. That's where the criticism comes from. And most Americans absolutely adore Israel and think they're amazing and think that they're some kind. There's even a Christian Zionist movement, which is really powerful. And there's some big money backing Trump, apparently, which comes from Zionist circles. So, you know, this is a country which is it's not a force for good on the world stage. You see that playing out in the politics. And I think the fact that the two big parties that could win are both like could be accused of supporting war crimes, supporting Zionism.
But judging by your trip to Hamtramck, that Muslim majority city, I mean, you seem to love it, right? The part of America that you went to.
Yeah, absolutely. So I visited a Muslim majority city. It's the first in American history. And I'm going to be frank. I think the Muslims basically took over there in a good way. But everything that we hear about here, you know, they say, oh, it's a threat. Islam coming in is evil. It's an evil religion. Yeah, no-go areas. Well, basically, Hamtramck disproves all that because it is Muslim majority. It's a Muslim majority council. They've outlawed things like the LGBT flag on government buildings and stuff like that. So, you know, they're actually implementing their cultural values into the city as well. As not just food and stuff like that. They're actually standing by their principles in some ways. And actually, it's a better place to live. The house prices are going up. People actually are moving there because they actually feel like, okay, I'm in a city now where I don't have to worry about my kids being indoctrinated, for example, and things like that. And, you know, people walking down the street respect law and order, and they're decent, kind-hearted people, and they're religious, and it's nice. It's just a nice atmosphere. And this was an area that was depressed originally as well.
Many Americans miss all that, don't they?
Yeah. And this was an area where there was massive immigration from other parts of the world, Italians, Polish, then whatever else. Now it's the Muslims' turn to settle there. They're the one community that's actually bringing up that city. Do you know what I mean? They're actually improving it and making it a more desirable place to live. Do you know what I mean? So
someone like that
it was great to go and just see an example of Muslims taking over somewhere in the West, quite frankly, and actually making it better. It was just a better place to live. I would happily live there. Anyone else? There was a lot of non-Muslims living there happily as well, and there wasn't this. That's the thing, because again, we're told these lies. Like, if Muslims take over, they're just going to start massacring people, and there'll be rapes everywhere. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, everyone's hands will get chopped off. But no, the Muslims took over, and actually, it was just a lovely suburb outside of Detroit where a lot of people want to live now, and they're improving the area spectacularly. So their voting habits are a little bit peculiar. But there you go. There you go. I mean, it was just a great play. I wish I had more time. Actually, I was a little bit rushed towards the end
We
of the
don't
trip.
really have. I
But...
mean, obviously, we have enclaves of major cities like Birmingham or whatever, Bradford, where it's Muslim majority, I guess, areas. But I don't think they control the local council, do they? Or I don't know. I mean, so do we have something like that in Britain, or?
You find it in Bradford, Oldham,
Yeah.
East London, Tower Hamlets. But whether that representation in the local authorities means some kind of benefit or advancement for Islam and Muslims, that's debatable. But there's certainly Muslim majority towns and constituencies, loads.
I think I might just play out the intro for my thing. Let me just get rid of this trailer because yeah, absolutely. But one of the things that I enjoyed the most, that's when I knew I was in Hamtramck, was the public call to prayer that could be heard throughout the city 5 times a day. Not even on Friday, but 5 times a day. So I'm here in a town called Hamtramck. It's just north of Detroit, and it's famous locally and even internationally for being basically a Muslim majority enclave in the United States. There's been a massive influx of Arab, particularly Yemeni, immigration to this area. There's also a lot of Bangladeshi Muslims as well, among other Arabs. And, there's been a lot of changes here. There's a massive Muslim influence now, a lot of Islamic masjids around. There's even a public call to prayer that can be heard 5 times a day. And the fact is you can see hijabs everywhere, burqas, brothers with beards, mashallah, there's Yemeni shops everywhere. And, we always hear all the time about how, Muslim immigration is bad, it's evil, it's going to destroy Western society. Well, Muslims, if I'm going to be frank, have basically taken over here in so many words, culturally speaking. But I've spoken to officials here who say that it's done nothing but enrich this local community. So yeah, that was just a taste of my trip. But yeah, it was lovely to be there. I think if I was going to go back to the States, it would just be the same place. I would actually advertise anyone to go. I mean, ultimately, I think we should focus on the Muslim world, not promoting tourism to America. But if you have to go for whatever reason, just go to Dearborn, because that's a little like Muslim area. So even your money stays within the Ummah in a way, I guess you could argue. But good trip.
Should we move on then? Is it Amsterdam next? Or
so Amsterdam. So big stuff happening in Amsterdam. There was an Israeli football team in town to play, I think it was Ajax.
Ajax last Thursday.
That's right. So it's Maccabi Tel Aviv is the team. And they got battered in the game, 5-0, I think. So that was the result of the fixture. But it was what happened off pitch that was, of course, headline grabbing. So what appeared to happen was, what actually did happen was that Israeli fans came to town, chanted racist chants against Arabs, genocidal chants as well against Palestinians.
There are no schools left because there's no children
Absolutely. They began pulling down Palestinian flags. There was also footage and claims that they had been attacking locals, not just Moroccan Muslims, by the way, but even Dutch citizens as well. And then, of course, it led to a massive backlash, and local Muslims, Moroccans, many of them, gave them a hiding. That's what it appears to have happened. But obviously, the Israeli propaganda and the mainstream media appear to have pushed their alternative narrative, suggesting that actually these were victims of anti-Semitic pogroms. That's what they're describing it as. So let's go through and play out some of the evidences. I'll bring this up. Perhaps you guys want to just discuss your opinion of it while I do, because obviously we're not just going to push our views here.
I mean, look, at the end of the day, football fans, ultras, casuals, and hooligans all have all types of offensive chants. But talking about the death of children, they also have chants about raping the women of the opposition football teams. These are basically just Zionist terrorists who support football. The vast majority of them are.
Many of them probably served in the IDF in Gaza, Lebanon.
The vast majority, some of them whose ID was found, their military ID was found. And basically they faffled, didn't they? They messed about and they found out.
They went looking for trouble. The football hooligans went looking for trouble and they found it. I'm not condoning violence, but they got battered by
Yeah.
the local Moroccan taxi drivers.
Let me
That's what happened.
let me play out the evidences.
Not because they're Jews, though. Not because they're
No,
Jews.
that's
But
also-
because they were Israeli hooligans looking for trouble,
So-
chanting genocidal chants,
So just to back up
being up locals.
to back up your claims, here's the footage. So this is them chanting the genocidal stuff. Death to Israel will defeat the Arabs. Death to Arabs in Gaza was being chanted among other things. We've also got them footage here of them pulling down Palestinian flags.
Yeah.
So it's all there. It was well documented, went viral, and even the media's reporting initially was reporting this as,
and then
as
they
it was.
Yeah, and then they changed it. Sky News being the
We'll
main.
get to
main.
that, yeah,
But
yeah,
but just a quick one. You know, people were saying, oh, these local Muslims or Moroccans that were attacking people on the streets and asking if they're Jew. No, they were asking people before they get a beating, are you an Israeli? Are you from Maccabi Tel Aviv?
Yeah.
If they weren't to ask that, then that would probably be something that's like a Jew hunting. No, but they asked people, where are you from? Maccabi Tel Aviv. Okay, fine. You're an Israeli. And then what happened. And if you were a football fan who was with Maccabi Tel Aviv and you didn't participate in flag burning or attacking taxi drivers or any of that, then you were at the wrong place at the wrong time.
But the way the media flipped the narrative, the Western
Pogrom.
media.
Yeah.
I mean, pogrom, look, I know what, I mean, I'm a student of history. So the pogrom refers to 19th century Russia,
Yep.
where the Jews were there were systematic attempts to eradicate them, basically. And loads of people died or were expelled, etc. No one died here. No one was seriously injured, even.
Mm.
A pogrom? Nah, come on. I mean,
Yeah.
You're taking the biscuit.
you're
yeah.
taking the biscuit, absolutely.
You literally are.
But I mean, Sky News was the obvious example. But the system, it's like the Zionists. It's like international Zionism pressed a button.
Well,
And all their little puppets around the world, including Western media and politicians, they were coming out with the same script. Even some of their tweets looked exactly
verbatim,
the same.
yeah.
Mm.
And do you know what's really shameful? What is really shameful that even after local council members in Amsterdam, white non-Muslim Dutch people, the police spokesman, Dutch white vloggers, they're literally telling you who started the trouble, the extent of the trouble, and how embarrassing and shameful it is that not a single Dutch politician came out and condemned the hooliganism of Maccabi Tel Aviv fans
Yeah.
when it was local Dutch citizens that were being attacked.
The Dutch government is very pro-Israel, by the way.
Very,
They
very.
backed them from the start. Of
Yeah,
the
yeah.
genocide.
And
Yeah.
and well, someone tweeted, I forgot who it was. He was a commentator on X. He goes, I've never seen such a huge disparity between the reality of how this story is being covered by locals and local reporters and the mainstream establishment, the mainstream politicians. The disparity is huge. On the one side, you got
Do you still think that Muslims should work in the mainstream media, given the genocide and the consent they've manufactured for this genocide?
we've always discussed this in it for the last 10 years. We've always said that we've always accepted there's a glass ceiling, but that's from a career progression point of view. From a moral, ethical point of view, if a Muslim feels that they are either self-censoring, self-muzzling, or contributing towards propaganda and fake news against the oppression, not just Palestinians but Muslims in general, then yeah, there's a huge moral and ethical
BBC
question.
and Sky News are blatantly doing that, right?
Yeah.
And I haven't seen any Muslims resigning. You know, I'm not talking about just like on-screen Muslims, but behind the scenes, camera people, whatever. I mean, where are the resignations? How could you work for an organization that is literally manufacturing consent for a genocide? I just don't get it. You know?
Yeah, I know. I find it hard to believe. I think that's why I'm happy to be here. To be honest with
They
you,
will still argue that I'm just playing the devil's advocate,
Yeah.
like I always do. They will always say, well, it's better some of us to be in than out. And there'll be absolutely no say or sway or consideration whatsoever. That's the
It's
argument.
not true. So there's two arguments there. One is that you get into the system, you get consumed by the system, they crush you, you become like them. And the second thing is that they're just using you for tokenism because they need brown faces to tell the world that they're not racist, right?
Look, Mehdi Hassan is a prime example of that, right? I mean, he's the most well-known orator within this game. And look how he was doing MSNBC, and look how he's now with Zateo, right? And they did that with him. So now imagine what they're doing with the unknown journalists and producers and fixers and all of that stuff. So yeah, I definitely think there is a moral and ethical question for Muslims working in the mainstream media. And I don't understand how they could possibly, their conscience allows them to sleep at night thinking they're either allowing it remaining silent or
But
contributing.
that
to it.
woman, who was it, Sandy Rashti or something? Or
Yeah.
Rashti?
Yeah,
I
let's
can't
get
remember
around.
her name. So basically,
Nonchalant.
open pro-Israel Zionist,
Yeah.
working as a news editor for Sky News.
Oh yeah.
But what I found incredible was her confidence, because when everyone, I mean, literally, she was outed.
Sandy Rashti.
Sandy Rashti. So she was outed by many people, millions of views,
Millions.
and she still got her Twitter timeline there with all the pro-Israel propaganda.
Yeah. CST.
She's chilling, man.
Yeah.
She's chilling. She knows her bosses have her back. And but I tell you what, if it was a pro-Palestine journalist or a Muslim
Halas.
journalist, they would close their Twitter account now,
Yeah.
or they'd make it private or whatever. You know.
Yeah.
Look,
I
it's
know, absolutely.
it's still active.
Yeah.
She's chilling.
Yeah.
She knows.
Full
She's
on
got
open.
nothing to worry about.
Yeah.
And you go down her timeline just now. Israel says it will deploy rescue missions after violent incident in Amsterdam. All Zionist talking
She's
points.
tweeting all the Islamophobes. You know,
Retweeting
Douglas
CST.
Murray,
Retweeting CST.
CST, all the Zionist groups.
So that
Good.
basically
Board of
is,
Deputies.
that's proof that Sky News, because obviously we all say the mainstream media can't be trusted, this and that, but this is like hard evidence to prove that Sky News is a compromised
100%.
organization that has a clear-cut agenda, and it's editorially incredibly biased when it comes to not just this issue in Amsterdam, but just anything to do with Gaza.
Yeah.
Yeah, what
God,
happened?
where is she?
She's been disappeared. She's been.
I hope she's suing them.
I mean,
I hope she's staying quiet because there's a legal case ongoing. But yeah,
I mean, we need to negotiate for her release. I mean, where's she being held? Tel
release the
Aviv.
hostages.
Tel Aviv, yeah, release our journalist hostages.
But has she been seen alive since the beginning of this year? I don't think she has.
I haven't.
Like, anywhere. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, one of the points which I was thinking to make was that, you know, Israeli team, this team specifically, its fans have a long history of engaging in hooliganism and racism abroad. I have footage here of them disrespecting the. There was a minute silence for the Valencia flood victims.
Yep.
There's
Disgusting
also
people.
there's footage of them beating up people in Greece. So this is a team which, if it was an English team or any other European team, they get banned, they get expelled, they get penalised. It's obviously not going to happen. But Israeli, not just this team or any Israeli football team, but Israel as a regime shouldn't be allowed to compete in sports. Full stop. So I'm not even gonna. I'm not. Yeah, absolutely. It shouldn't be allowed.
They're playing France tomorrow, and it's apparently there will be a crowd in the stadium.
And the match against Besiktas has now been moved to Hungary.
To Hungary, behind closed doors.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, obviously, you know, they shouldn't be allowed here for the danger that they pose. Their
Such
fans
a
coming
protected
here.
hooligan group that is such
It's crazy, isn't it?
It's one rule for them. It's literally one rule for Zionists. You talk about two-tier policing. It exists. One rule for Zionists, one rule for everyone else. These guys have a privileged status in Western society.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, just imagine if it was in reverse, if Muslims were going and chanting all these deaf genocidal chants in reverse. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The team would get shut down, the office is raided, and, you know, be designated, wouldn't it? So what can I say? But yeah, the situation in Amsterdam went viral, and we obviously did our part in trying to push the actual truth of what happened there. But yeah, what can I say? There was a councillor locally, an Amsterdam councillor, who spoke out against this. That's something which we also publicised. It doesn't seem to have gone as viral as it should do, but I suspect that's because
I think it was a bit late. We were a bit late onto it. But
the mainstream media as well has no interest in peddling this kind of view. Locals who, of course, know what's really going on there and what this team and its supporters are really all about.
Shall we move on to Dilly and Bangladesh?
Yeah, absolutely.
Got
so
two more topics left.
I'll take your lead on this. I know there's a few things that you want me to play out. You've done some documentary work as well as interviewing and reporting.
I have.
So I'll play out what I have here. It's a clip from your documentary, which will just give us a taste of what you were doing while you were out there.
It was a very safe for girls, and we felt very united.
There were risk of our lives. Other sisters are injured. I got hit on my back. The ultimate objective to ensure the right of people, right of vote, freedom of speech. Who would have thought after 2 months of protesting, it would lead to the resignation of Sheikh Hasina?
So yeah, looked like a fantastic trip. I didn't manage to consume all your content yet because I've been so busy, but I did watch this documentary and a few of the interviews you did. A lot's been happening there for sure.
So basically, towards the end of July, the last 10 days of July, there were peaceful protests from Dhaka University students. Other public universities joined, and they were protesting against the anti-quota policy, which is basically a kind of employment policy which allocates civil service jobs to certain discriminated groups. Cut the long story short, the Hasina regime was using one of the key allocations of that percentage to basically give her goons, her loyalists, very senior civil service jobs. In Bangladesh, when you land a civil service job, you're set for life. Your family's set for life. In a country where unemployment is very high, um, people are generally struggling to make ends meet. You land a civil service job, you're sorted for life. So the students took to the streets. In her typical way, she responded with brutality. Um, Police, army later on, arming the Chhatra League, which is the student wing of the Awami League. Hundreds were being killed. There was a media blackout. And as the death toll was increasing, the students' resistance to this to back down was increasing as well. So first it was Dhaka University, then it was 6 other public universities, then the private universities got involved, and these are well-to-do Bangladeshis who come from affluent backgrounds. Why the hell would they need to join any protests about civil service jobs? But they did. People put their politics aside, people put their ideologies aside, and within the space of 3 weeks, it became a national movement. It went from an anti-quota movement to an anti-regime movement. It was never the demand of the students for Hasina to step down. But after 2, 3 weeks, that became a non-negotiable. And on August the 5th, she fled to India, and Bangladeshis celebrated what they deemed to be as Independence Day 2.0. So I went there a couple of months later, whilst things settled. I've been to Bangladesh many times, but obviously this trip was very unique for me because there's lots to cover. But in short, right now, there is an interim government that's headed by Professor Muhammad Yunus, Nobel Peace Prize winner. There are no Awami League ministers. There are no Awami League MPs. They're either in hiding or they've fled to India. So right now, the country is being managed and run by student advisors and other special advisors. These advisors have taken up the role of cabinet ministers. And now there's a bit of a tug of war because this new interim government led by Muhammad Yunus, whose affiliations, warm relations to the Democrats and the Clinton family specifically is well known. They want to introduce some radical reforms, like an updated voters list that doesn't include dead people, duplications, fake people, just trying to get an understanding of how many people are there that are eligible to vote. And there's other kind of reforms that they want to introduce, anti-corruption and so forth. But then you've got the main opposition party, Bangladesh Nationalist Party, who was formerly run by Khalida Zia, who is the wife of General Zia, a lot of Bangladeshi history. But they want an election quick, and because they know they'll win a landslide the next. If they announce an election today, BNP would probably win a landslide. The students and other advisors and other stakeholders want to resist that. They don't want to replace Hasina with another one-party state. And whilst the BNP are not as bad as Awami League, and they certainly don't have the amount of blood that Awami League and Hasina has, they have indulged in these kind of corrupt and oppressive measures during their tenure in the past. You've got the students who are saying, no, we need time to introduce these reforms. There's lots of changes that we need to make in Bangladesh, including the constitution. Otherwise, why the hell did why were 2,000 martyred? And why did we bring down a dictator after 15 years? Give us time. 3 months is nothing. Jamaat-e-Islam, the largest Islamic political party, who was for years banned, their scholars and leaders hanged. Remember, we covered it 2013, 2014. Abdul Qadir Mullah, Dilly Hussain Saidi. They're like, we've been made public enemy number 1 for years. We are in no rush for an election, and the correct reforms must take place, whilst also they are trying to consolidate the Islamic or Islamist voting bloc. So there's all these different stakeholders that are now having a little tug of war. By December the 31st, all 9 or 11 political parties have to submit their reform suggestions to the interim government. I think there's going to be an election within 12 to 18 months. There's no way that this interim government is going to see off the rest of 4 years because they have no mandate, right? But I think we may see an election in 12 to 18 months. But the biggest debate at the moment nationally is that we do not go back to the ways of the Hasina regime. People previously affiliated to them, associated to them, intellectuals, academics, anything, they cannot be part of this new interim government. And the interim government has been appointing some individuals that might not have been a card-carrying member of the Awami League, but they certainly have voiced support for the regime and Hasina in the past. So you've got the students and the advisors and the interim government who are appealing to NGOs, and they're also trying to present themselves as, you know, this interim government has been born out of a national unification revolution, not a rainbow revolution, what some have tried coining it as, but it was a revolution for the first time in modern Islamic history, modern Muslim history, where students have removed a dictator.
Yeah.
Previously, and our views will know, how are leaders removed in the Muslim majority world? Military coups, civil war, or like a violent revolution, right? You never hear about university students leading a country to remove a dictator. So they've achieved a huge thing. It's at a critical juncture right now, and I think we will see elections in 12 to 18 months.
Dilly, and what's your monsoon? What's it called? Monsoon Revolution.
Monsoon Revolution.
Yeah, I saw that short documentary. I noticed the students, they seem quite secular, didn't they? And what is the obviously we're an Islamic channel, and what is the role of Islam in Bangladesh? Does it have any future in terms of governance in the country?
Islam has a huge role in Bangladesh. You know, we forget that Bangladesh is the third largest Muslim majority country. It was formerly East Pakistan before it became Bangladesh, and therefore it was a nation state that was founded upon its Muslim and Islamic identity. This brother here, Anjum Shahyar, he's a practicing brother, he's an Islamic activist from Jahangir University. A couple of other students that I interviewed were Islamic studies students. But the key point about the July-August Monsoon Revolution was that no particular ideology or movement can lay claim to it. Nor can the secularists, nor can the nationalists, and nor can the Islamists or Islamic groups. Everyone was involved. For sure, there was definitely contributions and sacrifices made by those who were Islamic and from Islamic groups and movements. Madrasa pupils, madrasa students, hundreds were killed, and they weren't given the media attention as university students were. And yes, there is a movement as we speak right now of various groups of various leanings, predominantly Sunni, that want to see Islamic reforms in the new constitution, or at the very least expecting that there's not going to be a crackdown and a witch hunt on Islamic groups and movements to basically do dawah and basically be politically active, which was something that was entirely censored under Hasina's regime. So I spoke to some Islamic groups and individuals, you know, they'd like to see things like, and I know people would think, oh, these are futile, these are mere constitutional changes. These are big things for Bangladesh. Because when Bangladesh broke away from and got its independence from West Pakistan, it kind of prided itself around that, oh, we're not going to be like that Islamic republic. We're going to carve our identity from secularism. So there are calls to remove secularism as the state ideology and replace it with Islam as the state religion. Yeah. Now, many Arab countries already have that. Many Arab countries already say the state religion is Islam, right? Whereas in Bangladesh, secularism is mentioned in the constitution. Yeah. In many Arab countries, it mentions that the head of state must be a Muslim, right? That's why Bashar and Hafiz al-Assad had all these kind of like conversions to Shiism just so they can fulfill that constitution. So, and that's the case in Libya. Many Muslim countries have the head of state must be Muslim. In Bangladesh, according to the current constitution, you can have a female Hindu prime minister, right? So I know Islamic groups and movements are trying their best to make these kind of constitutional changes and to see these kind of reforms, considerations about Islam in the educational curriculum. The current existing curriculum under Hasina was very much around Bengali and mixed cultural heritage with the Hindus, less so much about Islam and Muslim and Islamic heritage. So there is a movement as we speak right now where Islamic groups and movements are working together. They're advising the government. The government has an advisor at the moment, Khalid Hassan, who is a former senior leader of Hifazat Islam, one of the largest Islamic groups in Bangladesh. He's advising the government. And there's other advisors as well. But again, it boils down to how much of it the Yunus government will take heed of. How many parties and constituencies are they trying to keep happy? Are they trying to keep the kind of pro-Western secular guys, NGOs? Because NGOs bring money, NGOs bring jobs, NGOs bring many opportunities. You know this from Afghanistan.
Yes,
where
yes.
Afghanistan suffered because the NGOs of the occupation went. So jobs went, money went. So there's that. Then there's the appealing to the Islamic elements. You can't ignore the Islamic elements. Bangladesh is a very socially conservative Muslim majority country. You can't take away from that. So they're trying to keep all these various constituencies happy and pleased, and trying to kind of not placate to them, but trying to like just keep them at arm's length, but keeping them happy enough so there's not another uprising or revolution.
Robert, I'll get my questions out of the way. Maybe you can come in.
Sure.
Yeah, I've got two questions.
Go for it.
How do you see the future of Bangladesh? Are they going to move close to the Muslim world, countries like Pakistan? Are they going to move further away from India, out of the US orbit, or closer to China? How do you see the future? And the second question I have, I'll get it out of the way now, is would you encourage British Muslims, British Bengali Muslims to go back home, make hijra? What about yourself? Are you thinking of that?
So let me answer the first question. The first question is that you will see Bangladesh moving closer towards other regional players in Asia, primarily China, Pakistan. You will also see it move towards the sphere of influence more overtly towards the United States.
All right.
Yeah. So because there's one thing that's pretty much consistent on the ground that I've spoken to people of all walks of life is they want to move away from India.
Yeah.
Bangladeshis are sick of this kind of suzerainty that India has over it. It has been a vassal state for India since its inception. India continues to spread outright outrageous fake news, and linked to your
like genocide
of Hindus. You know, crackdown on Trump supporters. Trump tweeted out 2 days on Diwali, 2 days before the 5th of November, that there's communal violence and Bangladesh is in chaos. Sheikh Hasina's in a leaked voice message, 8.5 minutes, she spoke about appealing to Trump to intervene, and whenever there's any kind of communal violence or unrest, make sure American flags are burning. Hasina saying this in a leaked voice note. So India is trying its utmost best, the Modi regime, is to basically springboard her back into relevance and her back into power. India can't fathom a relationship with Bangladesh on equal footing. It can only see Bangladesh through the prism of, we hope to get liberation in 71, therefore you will do as we say. You share a 4,000 kilometer border with us, pretty much all around your country. You do as we say. We will release the dam, we'll flood your country. It's this type of mindset. Whereas Bangladesh is now sick of it. They want to move away from the sphere of control of India. So if there's one thing we can agree on, they want to move away from India, and they will probably do all that is necessary to move away from the shackles of India. Not trading. You have to trade with India. It's your closest trade partner. You share a huge border with them. There has to be trade. But you will see them perhaps getting closer to either China or America, and Pakistan will play a key role whichever way they go. Why? Because Pakistan has always played a key mediating role between China and America, and will probably do the same if the Yunus government or any future government move towards the orbit of control of China and America.
Second, making hijra.
Let's play the second clip. The second short film I made was History of Sylhet and British Bangladeshis, where I answered the question.
All right.
Yeah.
It just shows I haven't watched this yet.
Yeah, it's fine. But this is only the trailer.
That's true.
But towards the end, it's coming out in 3 days.
Sylhet City, the administrative center of Sylhet Division. Located in the northeast region of Bangladesh, most famously known for its scenic pastoral lands and tea gardens.
Looks like Sri Lanka.
However, in the last 60 or 70 years, Sylhet has become synonymous with the British Bangladeshi diaspora, where the vast majority of British Bangladeshis come from.
Would I make hijra there? Not yet. But I will. I visit often, I visit regularly, and I can definitely see me spending more time in Bangladesh. And I will advise this to not just Bangladeshis, but people of immigrant descent from the diaspora communities to visit your ancestral motherlands.
Yeah.
Right? Mind my language. It may, actually, no, I'm not going to say it. But you may land in your ancestral motherlands, right? Which are in many cases will be third world developing countries. And you're going to go there as a Western privileged Muslim, right? And there'll be certain things which you're accustomed to that you may struggle with there, right? If you can just overcome that.
Like people seeing you as a wallet.
Yeah. People seeing you as a wallet. People always want to be in your business. Or just like, even things like showers and the way you live and living standards, there will be a drop in. If you go to Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Pakistan, right, you will see that most of the country is struggling. They are poor, right? But you have money, so therefore you can buy comforts. You can literally create your Western privileged lifestyle in a bubble in these countries. But I think we need to offer a lot more than that. Sorry, Rob, I know there's no ancestral roots. You're stuck here, bro. You're stuck.
Yeah.
You're stuck here with.
I just have to randomly show up in a Muslim country and hope they'll accept me or something.
But look, we need to give back a bit more than just creating these kind of Western bubbles in our motherlands. Give back. I want to go back to
Well, I
Bangladesh.
haven't got either because Sri Lanka's my motherland, but it's not a Muslim country.
No, but
So it's like, do I really want to go back there? I don't think so.
Give back to the other side of your marriage, because you're married to someone who's non-white. Yeah, you can give back to that. Invest in it. I want to start doing some journalism courses and training in Bangladesh. I want to do different things. I'm already looking to business ventures in Bangladesh, and I encourage everyone who's from kind of like immigrant descent to go back to your ancestral motherland. It's your roots. It's your roots. Speak the language, eat the food, connect with it, find out your family history, and then that will make you perhaps consider hijra there in the future. Because as it stands now, when you speak of hijra, it's only Turkey, Turkey, Malaysia.
We don't know.
Turkey, Qatar, Malaysia, right? That's it. But well and truly, if you go back to whether it's Algeria, Morocco, the Maghreb, the Asham, Bangladesh, Pakistan, wherever it is, go back and give back. Hijra, not yet. Increased visitations for sure. And I do feel that there could be a calling there for me. That's related to 5 pillars, but there could be a calling there for me, inshallah.
Robert, any questions still before we move on?
No, I think it was covered well. I look forward to watching the rest of the content. I just wonder what China and those countries are doing in all this. I know you mentioned about America and what they're doing and Bangladesh's relationship to India. What about China? Because I know China are quite opportunistic, aren't they?
Sure. So, I mean, if we understand the geopolitics of the region, it roots back to the Cold War period. Bangladesh was always aligned to India, which was subsequently aligned to Russia, the Soviet Union, right? Pakistan was always seen as the kind of garrison front for the US, from where it fought the first Afghan war. So that's the general geopolitical makeup of that region. China is obviously going to play an interesting role because it would want to position itself economically. The strengthening of ties with Bangladesh is good for them because it's countering India, right? For America, they also have interest there as well because having a military presence there. Now, there was this rumor about the Americans being after St. Martin's. St. Martin's is an island in Bangladesh that the Americans wanted to create a naval base there. I don't think there's much truth to this. I spoke to a few experts in Bangladesh. They said, look, even the water's not deep enough to have a naval base, to have submarines. But this is like an Awami League talking point. Also, if the Americans have an interest, it doesn't always have to be military, right? And Americans are trying their utmost best via NGOs, via other international bodies to not just inject money, but also their ideas and ideology as well. China, bro, is no different in its policy than it is with any other country. Where there is a key trade route, where there is money to be made, where they could potentially, get countries into debt. So they are, because China's thing is, we'll invest money to build your infrastructure. We will modernize your country. You have a certain period to pay this money back. If not, you're in our debt now. And that's how China generally operates. And I can't see China operating any differently to Bangladesh, but it will have a very keen interest simply because China's biggest regional foe and threat is India, right? So China also doesn't want India under Modi to get closer to the Trump administration. And Modi and Trump are very similar in terms of their rhetoric, in the way that they're seen as very populist leaders. So there's lots happening at stake because even Professor Yunus is thinking, he's always been affiliated and associated and was hosted very recently by the Clintons. He spoke at the Clinton Foundation. So yeah, it's crazy because America, China, India, they all have stakes in Bangladesh. But I just know that Bangladeshis want to move away from India, the shackles of control and its kind of infiltration, because India is very much deeply embedded within Bangladeshi state. There's raw agents that are actively operating. They have undercovers and agents. They have Hindutva groups like ISKCON, create a lot of fitna on the ground. So India has many tentacles of influence within Bangladesh, and there are even some within Bangladesh saying that we will truly not be free until we cut all of India's tentacles off. Forget about any other tentacles. Chinese, American. Let's just get rid of what we've
Mm.
always known and what has always held us back, and that's India.
Yeah, sure. I wonder if they'll be able to achieve that without, as you say, letting too many tentacles in, because obviously it's not
They'll have to
great
lean
to.
somewhere, bro.
Yeah,
But
I guess so.
Roshan, it's not going to be an Islamic Imara anytime soon.
That was my question.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
No, for sure. I met so many people that had those aspirations.
Yeah.
There's no two ways about that. I met so many, represent. I met.
It's not another Afghanistan then.
Yeah, no, for sure, it's not. No, I would say for now, it at least appears to be far away from that. But that's not to say that there aren't people who share that type of aspiration. But
So one day, inshallah.
inshallah,
Yeah.
which we hope, inshallah, that all Muslim majority countries move towards something that is more reflective of their Islamic identity and Allah's Sharia.
Inshallah. Well, I know that there's some news about Impress.
Oh,
which,
yes.
Oh, yes.
I haven't really been
Damn
updated
shit.
about.
Shall I
So
start with this?
yeah, I think I'll hand that over to
Yeah,
you
so
then.
brothers and sisters, Impress is our media regulator. So I think it must be about 6 or 7 years ago.
2018.
Was it 2018?
Yeah.
So so a long time ago, 6 years ago, we entered into a voluntary arrangement with Impress, which basically regulates mainly independent media publications. And what it means is that they have an editorial code. You can see on the website, that's our logo, which we're going to have to take off now.
Yeah, let's take one.
But what it means is that they have an editorial code, which we have to abide by. And most of that code is great. It's like accuracy, impartiality in certain cases, checking information, giving the other side the right to reply, many other things. It also means that if you are unhappy with our journalism, then you can complain to Impress, which is an independent body, and then they can look at a particular complaint and they can either find for us or against us. Now, the reason why we entered Impress is because we wanted to give the signal to our readers and viewers, and even to our haters, that we are serious. We are a serious journalistic publication that takes editorial standards, professional standards very seriously. We also wanted to prove to people that we're not a law unto ourselves. We're not judge, jury, and executioner. And if you have a legitimate complaint against us, you can go somewhere and a judgment can be made either for or against us. So that's the reason why we entered Impress. Overall, I would say, and Dilly, you can come back on this. Overall, I would say that, mainly because they didn't complain about me, they complained about you. But yeah,
they did.
Overall, I would say that Impress has not been a bad regulator. I mean, basically, they're left-leaning liberals. That's how I understand it. And they do have a genuine concern to boost the independent media as opposed to the mainstream media. And by and large, I think it made us focus our minds on professional standards and adhering to those standards. So there were good aspects of working with Impress. However, it's past its sell-by date now, and they're no longer of any use to us. And the crux of the issue, brothers and sisters, is that, I don't know where the camera is. I think that's my camera. But the crux of the issue, brothers and sisters, is that 5 pillars cannot have any control. Non-Muslims cannot have any control over 5 pillars as an organization. Yes, obviously we're going to obey the law of the country, but that's it. In terms of voluntarily giving part of our editorial standards up to non-Muslims to have control over, that's a no-no from now on. Now, the reason, another annoying thing about Impress was that they did find against us on several occasions. They accused us of you in particular, Blood Brothers podcast, of not pushing back hard enough against Mark Collett and Jada Franson when they were being anti-Semitic. And we actually didn't even contest the fact that some may find their words anti-Semitic. But what we said was that there was a pushback.
There was.
But we couldn't push back on every single time they said it because the podcast would have been 10 hours long. I don't have a major issue with their finding because they're liberals, they have their own standards, and perhaps they're making up their. I don't agree with it.
And they're under pressure.
They're adhering to their own standards and they're under pressure. What I did have a problem with is when you went to Prophet Lut alayhi salam's cave in Jordan, and you outlined the orthodox Islamic position
All I did
on LGBT issues without inciting hatred whatsoever. And they broke their own rules because basically you said that before we were. Do you remember this?
Yes.
They said that. You said that before we came under their regulation, and they broke their own rules by deciding to adjudicate on it because actually, in hindsight, we should just said no case to answer, move on.
Yep.
But we didn't. like fools, and it was my decision. I said, okay, give you the benefit of the doubt. I'll let you adjudicate on it. And they basically found us guilty of spreading homophobia when we did nothing of the sort. They interfered on Islam's religious strictures regarding to same-sex relationships. They have no business doing that.
Yeah.
So that was my only real massive issue with
The
with
LGBT.
the press. No, I have more issues with LGBT than that. But just to finish it here, ultimately, Dilly and Robert, it's about non-Muslims having control over our editorial output. That can no longer happen.
Just to add to those points, right? I agree with most of it. I think the relationship with Impress was generally a positive and good one. They were always there for us when we needed advice and tips. They were, you know, they were always at the end of a phone call. There were many times I sensed that they were under pressure to penalize us or look into us. We know that Sarah Khan, the extremism czar of the past,
Had a meeting with them.
CST, other pro-Israeli groups had filed a lot of these complaints, right? So we're looking at the pressure that they're facing, and they kind of have to like act on it, right? I'd also say that
they're not going to take the side of an Islamic organization.
They're not. But I say this: we were perhaps their most spiciest and liveliest clients.
They're going to miss us.
Yeah, they're going to miss us. I'll tell you that much. They're going to miss us.
They don't have any work to do anymore.
Exactly. But look,
that was the other thing. Sorry for interrupting you there, but this is the other point that I forgot to make, is that our enemies were weaponizing Impress against us. But also our enemies are really upset that we are a member of Impress.
Because
it gave us a certain credibility. So they might be celebrating the fact that we've left now.
But just to be clear, we left off our own accord.
Yeah,
we could have easily stayed. Yeah, and even in the email, the parting email, they said, it's a shame that you're leaving, right? They want us to stay. So we've left off our own accord. But I just want to add to this point. The issue isn't about non-Muslims having a say on 5 pillars. It's non-Muslims having a say on our religious takes on current affairs.
Yes.
That's the issue here. At the end of the day, for 6 years, we subscribed to and generally complied with an editorial code that was written by non-Muslims. What we have an issue is Impress telling us what is halal and haram. What is, you know, when I said that the act of sodomy is seen as a crime against God. Yeah, that's because Allah describes the people of Lut as mujrimeen, as criminals.
That's literally in the Quran.
That's literally, all I did was just mention the Quranic verbatim story. They felt that they took a moral position that was homophobic. Yes, in hindsight, we should have fought it, but it is what it is. We learnt something from that point. But we can no longer have any non-Muslims, especially those that will easily buckle under pressure, to tell us how we should morally interpret current affairs and news according to our faith.
Yeah.
That's what we have an issue with. We have no problems with non-Muslim professional journalists telling us that these are good practice and so forth. That's not a problem. When we did our NCTJ, the entire curriculum was made up by non-Muslims, right? And we subscribe to, we still live by it. We still, when we do our work, most of it, of course we do. But you can't tell us, a faith-based news site, that this story or this incident or this matter, you should be seeing it through this prism. You can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah, we can now say that we're not regulated. We are
regulated by the Quran and Sunnah.
We're regulated, but yes, and Allah is forever watching us, and we have murabbis and scholars and advisors accounting us. But we're no longer regulated by Impress. I'm happy. I'm happy because I don't have to read these bloody long emails about Jada Franson and
well, you know, there's a couple of things I want to say. Is that one is that it was bogging us down as well, and quite frankly, we're focused on there's a genocide happening in Gaza.
Exactly.
There's literally a genocide, and do you think I'm going to spend time going through complaints from the CST and all these other, organizations to the detriment of what's going on in Gaza? No.
No, thank you.
The other thing I want to say is that I know might be a bit of disagreement. Maybe get Robert to comment on this because we have a bit of a disagreement here. I still think 5 pillars needs a regulator, but a Muslim one. And I think there should be a panel of Muslim experts in different fields, not just media, impartial, outside of our organization, that regulates the Muslim media, that can be voluntary, so not just 5 pillars, maybe Islam Channel, maybe other. I mean, Muslim Vibe doesn't exist anymore, does it? But yeah. Muslim news or whatever, even not just in the UK but around the world, because I think the Muslim media has been something that's neglected. It hasn't been valued enough, and we need to show to the Ummah that we are serious about what we're doing, that we adhere to professional standards, that this is not just something we're playing with. as a hobby. It's a serious profession that has serious value and serious impact. So I think that's a way of doing
And
that.
serious consequences as well. We're not just YouTubers, by the way. I know that that's a big thing now, Muslim
Still is,
YouTubers.
but-
Probably is. Robert was.
But yeah, I was. But
Well,
yeah, I
you-
mean,
The TikToker.
we cover stories where, you know, if we cover it wrong or break the law, we could end up in jail.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. And we
Or
know
get
that
sued.
Yeah.
yeah, I'll get sued big time. So, you know, there's a lot of consequences as well. for
I
what we do.
just think it's a huge task what you're calling for. Ultimately, I would like that to be an independent, impartial Muslim regulatory body that oversees the standards of Muslim media, press, online, and broadcast. My concern is, who is that panel going to be made up of? Are they going to be qualified and competent? Are they also going to have the religious tarbiyah to be able to balance between the news and stuff?
The right people, isn't it?
Yeah,
I mean, if the kuffar can do it, why can't we?
Okay,
And
because
it's about sending out a message, right, about
for sure.
Muslim
I
journalism.
agree with you. I agree with you. But I just think time, resources, who's going to do it? Are you signing up to do it?
Well, I think whoever does it, they'll have to be paid. So organizations, maybe organizations to sign up would pay a subscription fee so that people can be paid for their time. You know, whether that's a couple of hours a month or something like that. But yeah, it's something I've had in my mind.
No, it's a good idea.
I think it's one of these things that needs to be made a reality for people to see the value of it. Like 5 Pillars. Everyone was telling me before 5 Pillars, this isn't going to work. And I thought, like, let's make it happen and people will see how it's going to work. And I feel the same about this.
Besides 5 Pillars, who would subscribe to that?
I think we're the only forward-thinking ones, because everyone else wants to be a law unto themselves.
Yeah.
Whereas we are serious about what we're doing.
So if you look at Iman channel, Islam channel, the big kind of broadcast Islamic channels in English language, if you look at the kind of Islamic websites, whether it's Dawam, Islam 21, see whether all the different brothers and players.
We have sway over these people.
Yeah.
We can.
But
even Jalal's podcast,
Yeah,
you know,
but
Thinking
that-
Muslim, we could get them to.
But what I'm saying is that they may not feel the need to subscribe to an editorial standards. We have to, because we're actually doing journalism day in, day out.
What are the serious ones? The serious
But
ones.
name is what the serious ones that do journalism.
No, well, I don't want to start slandering my
But
brothers.
no, you don't need to slander anyone. But
yeah.
no, but our
There's
brothers.
not many.
No, but our brothers from these groups, we've mentioned this so many times, they acknowledge that we are the only ones that are doing particularly
So
journalism.
we're the only client, man.
Yeah, so we become the regulator.
We lead it, others will follow.
I think it's a fantastic idea.
That's
so
what
long
the BBC does. They investigate themselves,
investigate
and they're always like, "Oh, we'll give them a pass."
All the people on the panel will be our mates.
as- So, no, but hold on. Ipsos's entire board was like ex-editors of all the main newspapers, right?
Yeah.
I'm just saying that we don't have enough outlets.
I'm comfortable with the idea of a panel of Muslims finding against us and even telling us to take down stories, as long as these are credible people, religiously active and practicing and believing, experts in their different fields, and fair-minded. I'd be up for that, 100%.
I'd be up for that. I'm just saying that there won't be enough people that sign up to it because not enough people are doing journalism. Because to subscribe to an editorial practice or some kind of like charter or something, right, to be held accountable, ultimately you have to be doing journalism. Other than us, others are just content creators, cultural sites, Islamic sites. There's no other. I'm not, unless, can anyone comment if there is any other Muslim outlet? If there's any other Muslim outlet that is doing journalism that you think should subscribe to a proposed set of editorial practices, let us know. I just think it's a great idea, but you need more people to sign up to it.
What can we get some of the comments to get? Because of some of the comments, should we ask a few questions to the audience? Like, all right, should Dilly make hijra to Bangladesh? Should we be regulated by an outside body? Is that an issue? What else can we ask?
Do you want to see me eat more? Do you want to see me eat somewhere else in the world? I was enjoying American food.
Where should we go next?
Yeah, where should I go and eat next? Yeah, just let us know. I guess, you know, the Western year is coming to an end, so I think we'll do a year review eventually.
Oh yeah, you're gonna have to come back for that.
Yeah, absolutely. You'll have to come back.
Next month you're gonna have to
I
come
get
back.
where sort of our eye is. What are we going to do? What's our next trip? What are we doing next year? What's the big agenda for next year? I guess. So yeah, if you have any suggestions, where do you want to see us next? I think I need to go to Afghanistan, right?
Yeah.
I know you really want to. Yeah,
I'm
I
putting my
want to as
flag
well.
there.
I'm flying
Maybe
back.
we should both
Yeah.
go.
I'm flying back out on the 9th of February.
Right.
So I'll be in Afghanistan again. I would like to do Pakistan before Ramadan.
Well, you know we're banned in Pakistan.
Yeah.
Aren't you? So
I think the website
get in there.
No, I think the website along with other websites are banned. I don't think 5 Pillars as an organization is banned.
Okay.
I think our website is banned.
You'll
That's
find
what
out
it
at the airport.
is. Yeah, inshallah. 'Cause I
Yeah,
feel
let us know.
I've done Afghanistan, I've done Bangladesh. It makes sense to do Pakistan. and then we plan to conquer India. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why not? Why not set up the Mughal Empire?
Who was the conqueror of India? The first
So
famous. I can't remember his name.
okay, Muhammad bin Qasim,
Muhammad bin Qasim.
he came to Sindh and Pakistan.
Yeah.
In terms of India, it was the Delhi Sultanate. It was the
Yes.
Mamluk Turks
Yes.
that took over the north of India.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah. And Sheikh Shah Jalal, who came to.
I've yet to
Bengal.
find a good book on the Mughals in English, which is unbelievable, isn't it? Right?
That's crazy.
Yes.
It's a huge part of our history.
Empires.
I know that
goes on
India's
being
trying
aggressive.
to eradicate that from their history books now.
Yeah.
But from my understanding, that's part of what made Indian history
Yeah.
so great was that Mughal era. It was like the golden age of
Bro,
India.
there is no concept amongst Hindus of a united Bharat.
Yeah.
United India was an Islamic concept.
Yeah.
It came from the Delhi Sultanate and then later the Mughals. There was
Yeah.
no concept grounded in religious theology of the Hindus
Yeah.
where there was a united Hindu state. They got that.
Well, even Hinduism wasn't really united religion.
Yeah, it wasn't-
until maybe
it wasn't
this
all-
century
yeah.
or last century.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I
Interesting.
would say one thing about Bangladesh is that I'm ignorant about Bangladesh, and I think generally, I hate to say it, but I do feel this kind of discrimination amongst Muslims in general about Bangladesh. It's like we think about Pakistan, we know quite. I mean, I'm not even Pakistani, but I know quite a lot about Pakistan. I've been to Pakistan, and Bangladesh is a bit of an afterthought. Do you feel as a Bangladeshi that you have been discriminated against, and Bangladesh is like on the periphery of the Muslim world? It's not a central part of the ummah.
For sure. I mean, but I wouldn't be putting it out that strongly. But for sure, people would know about Pakistan. Pakistan was the first Islamic republic. It was the first Islamic nation state. It was the first state that thought it would follow the tradition of the Ottoman Caliphate. It's the only country that has nuclear weapons. It's been involved heavily in wars and other events in the region. So it comes as no surprise that when you go to the Arab world, everyone knows about Pakistan. Not that many know as much about Bangladesh. But on the issue of Bangladesh, you will find Bangladeshis in Makkah and Medina. You will find them in the Haram.
Everywhere.
You find them
the Gulf.
everywhere. You find them in the Gulf everywhere. And the thing is, you can't detach Bangladeshi's history and heritage with Pakistan because we were Pakistanis before we were Bangladeshis. And Bangladesh, people like to take the history back to 71. No, you take it back to 47 because there would be no Bangladesh if there was no East Pakistan. And there'd be no East Pakistan if there were no Muslims of India. So that's a given. I don't get disheartened by it. But Bangladeshis make up the second largest group of Muslims in the UK, where they are very active. They are very much involved in dawah and activism and political advocacy. And I think there will always be this kind of symbiotic kind of relation with our Pakistani brothers, from whom we got liberation and independence from, but from whom we share the idea and the heritage of Islam and a state that was founded for Muslims. Pakistan will always enjoy that because it's the only nuclear country, Muslim country. It will enjoy that because it has one of the largest standing armies. That's why Arabs in Jerusalem will call for the Pakistani army to come bomb Israel. They won't call on Bangladesh to do it. You'll always find that Arab countries do turn to Pakistan to do their kind of military stuff. Saudi does it all the time. Pakistan and Bangladesh have one of the biggest UN peacekeeping force contributions. So Pakistan enjoys that, not just within Asia, just generally amongst the Muslim Ummah, Pakistan enjoys that. Pakistan also as a country wears its religious identity on its sleeve, right? Bangladesh grappled with that and tried to not be that. That was the narrative of post-71. So yes, not periphery, but definitely not as much as Pakistan, nowhere next to Pakistan. The events of Imran Khan's arrest is covered widely from the media. How much of the Western media covered the events of the 5th of August and the Monsoon Revolution? Hardly any, right? And that was a monumental achievement. As I mentioned already, name me another country in the Muslim world in the last 100 years where students, university students, not madrasa students alone, university students led a nation to bring down a dictator. None. So it's a huge thing that they've achieved. And I think Bangladesh should use the recent events to now create a new narrative and ownership of their country and their heritage. I will be anyway, inshallah.
You normally interrupt me before.
No, I was just saying there is one other country that had a similar, and it was Iran, which had a student movement. But
Did they bring
I wasn't going to say that because people will say, "Oh, you're a secret Shia." But yeah, but yeah, students in Iran had a major impact in the revolution there. Yeah. Should we end on that note?
Yeah.
Great. Leave a comment whether
I'm
you
not
Yeah.
a secret Shia. I'm Sunni.
We'll end on that one.
Yeah, mate.
There's a good question for you to give us a comment on. Is Roshan a secret Shia? Well, you tell us in the comment section below. Well,
Sure.
brothers and sisters, we could talk for hours on end, but obviously I think the podcast will have to end here for now. But do join us in the comment section below where we'll continue this conversation. And inshallah, we'll have Dilly on again very, very soon. And there's a ton of content that you can view from his trip to Bangladesh, some from my trip to the USA, and Roshan, of course, not so much. But yeah,
No
nothing from you.
content for me.
Well, he's written a few articles. There you go. You've got some reading to do there. Well, thank you very much to everyone. And please like, share, and subscribe. It helps the channel immensely. And until next time, we'll catch you again on another episode of Muslims Uncensored. But it's Ma salam, assalamu alaikum for now.
Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum.